everybody, my name is Fairy or the Hedge Witch and welcome back to my sacred space. So I'm actually filming this intro after filming the actual body of this video. Anyway, the other day I woke up and looked over at my herb shelf and decided that I needed to relabel everything. So that act kind of inspired me to clean up my altar and get some of my organization improved and things like that. And I wasn't going to film it at first, it was just kind of going to be like a me project. But as I started doing it, I realized that it might be something that people would be interested in watching. I know I really like watching people clean and organize. It's very soothing to me for whatever reason. So I just kind of wanted to give you guys a bit of a glimpse into what I did to kind of tidy up my altar space and figure out some new storage solutions. This is not a full altar tour. I'm actually about to film a full altar tour. That's why I have like this whole get up on tonight. But regardless, I hope that you find this video inspiring or at the very least relaxing and fun to watch. Okay, so I wanted to wait to film this voiceover until I got my new mic. So hopefully you guys notice a bit of a difference in the audio quality here between this and my camera. But anyway, the very first thing that I'm doing is, like I said, relabeling all my herbs. So in order to do that, I am just taking some washi tape and a Sharpie marker, and you'll see me kind of pull out the washi tape and then stick it on this book that I have in my lap. That's just to make it a little bit easier to write properly. And then once I have the name of the herb written out, I just stick it onto whatever jar I'm using, and that is it. As for the jars that I'm using, the round ones, the ones that you see here with the little ball thing at the top, I actually got those from Ross Dress for Less. They were like wedding party favor kind of things. I think I got like 12 of them for $5 or something. It was wild. So highly recommend checking out your local thrift stores to see what you can find. You can really use whatever type of jar that you like though. I just like these kind of jars because they kind of all match each other and they don't take up too much space. I don't have a billion herbs, so something like this that's, you know, pretty small and doesn't hold too much works pretty well for me. The herbs that I get come from my local witch store, and they come in these little baggies like this, and the tag on top has some really nice information about different correspondences and information about the herbs, so you'll see me kind of putting those to the side, and I did hang on to those so that I can enter the information into my grimoire later on if I so choose. And then here I just have all of my herbs all relabeled and all ready to go. Okay, so this is kind of where we're at right now. I'm not going to do like a full altar tour in this video just because I'm kind of trying to focus on doing the reorganizing that I'm trying to get done, but this is what my altar space generally looks like. So I have two of these cube shelves. I believe they're from Target. They were not expensive, like they're the cheap ones that you build at your house. So I've got these, and I do all of my workings up on this space. It's about kneeling height, which is really great for me. So the problem that I've run into, I have too many books. So I'm gonna try to figure out some way to kind of organize this a little bit better. Also the shelves are just a little bit too messy, so I'm gonna see what I can do. I did just run over to Target and they didn't have any black bins, which sucks because that's what I like, but I got these gray and white stripy ones, so I think I'm probably going to try to put some of this stuff into a bin because this is one of my messier cubes, and I'm not sure, maybe try to condense some of my other stuff. Alright, and now it's time for me to put my herbs back into the shelf. I'm just really quick wiping off the dust from the shelf here. Depression is a bitch and I haven't dusted these shelves in a while, but Anyway, I'm just throwing all the jars back in here, including these sad looking kitchen shakers. I didn't feel like rejarring those because they're already in a practical jar. I've also got a mason jar of storm water in the corner there, and on top of it I will place a jar of melted snow water from In Bulk one year, and then all the rest of the jars are all just various herbs. I put the ones that I use more in the front so that they're easier to access. Okay, so I'm still kind of working on things over here. As you can see, my actual altar is still pretty messy, but I did kind of go through this shelf and some of this, so I just kind of want to show you guys a little bit of what I did here. So this shelf has always been kind of a display shelf. I have this little like Haku Pinewood Derby car that I had to make in college, and I really love him, and I don't really have another place for him to go. So I moved a couple things that I don't use very often back there. I have a singing bowl and a teapot style cauldron. And then I have these gemstone chips that my friend Hunter got me for Yule this year. I thought that they were really cute, so I put them in rainbow order. They do have the type of gemstone labeled on there, but I placed the labels backwards so that they would just be colorful and cute. You guys already saw my herb shelf. Down here is where I keep my candles. Before, the biggest issue with this shelf was I was keeping all of my tea lights there, which I have like literally 100 of, and they just really were making it look really messy. So I took those out. You'll see where I put those later, and kind of restacked and reshuffled things. I do have this candlestick in here. It's from an antique store. It's kind of dirty on the inside. It has a lot of old wax in there, so it's not on display right now, but I just kind of tossed my extra taper candle there. And then I did split up my books, so all of my books before were kind of jammed into this one spot, but I managed to free this area up. So over here I put more of the theory books that I'm not going to be referencing as much while I'm practicing. So I have my Dictionary of Demons, I have my Wicca Year in a Day, which I'm not Wiccan anymore, but I do still have this book. It's really good for reference occasionally. I've got the Wicca, A Guide for the Solitary Practitioner by Scott Cunningham, and then a couple other witchcraft theory books. And then I didn't have quite enough to fill this up, so I put one of my decorative jars back there. I think this is from Michael's. I say this is decorative, it actually has water in it. This was collected on a especially magical day, and I use it occasionally in like my bath rituals. And then I have this really beautiful piece of amethyst. I actually have a friend who is a gemstone collector, and he runs a shop here in the Chippewa Valley area of Wisconsin. And he did a really big sale this last summer, and he gave this to me for a really good price. So I'm super happy to have this. It's such a lovely piece, and it wasn't really getting enough attention before, so I moved it up here. It is, in case you're wondering, pretty safe from sunlight. This window I keep the shades closed, and then my other window is pretty small, and this is not in direct light of that, so it shouldn't have any issues with fading. I've also got my two antique perfume bottles here from the 1920s. Again, these were just kind of things I had elsewhere that weren't getting enough attention. I really love them, and I wasn't really able to see them very well before, so I'm really happy that I'm able to have them out. And down here on the bottom, I used one of my bins. I'm so sorry, I'm fiddling with the screen here. So before, I had it kind of split into like my bulk storage was over here, and then any like self-care items and stuff were over here, but I had so much bulk stuff that they kind of ended up blending together. So I took one of my bins and I filled it to the brim with all my crap. So this was all the tea lights I was talking about. I have some large votive candles in there, which I use on my altar. I've got some jars. I have like a really big thing of sea salt back there, an extra incense holder, a whole bunch of stuff that I don't use that often. I also have a really big cauldron in there, so it just looks a little bit nicer to have that not out and about, and I could also stack it a little bit higher. And then what I did over here is I left out the self-care items. I used to do the Lunarly subscription box, so all of those things are from that. I also left out some things I might use a little bit more often, so I left a couple jars out, a dish that I tend to use for water cleansing and also watercolor, a couple mason jars, and my Yule log. I didn't want to put it in the storage bin because I didn't want the bark to all flake off, so he will just live there until next year. So then over here, the two major things that I did, most of the books then I kept in this area are more practical, hands-on magic books. So some of these are like grimoires that have different spells in them. Some of them, like this is a dream interpretation. Some of them I would use for tarot if I was really stuck, and then this one has information on lunar magic. So that's kind of stuff that I might reference while I'm working. And then this stuff here is all of my journals, my Book of Shadows, my old grimoires, my practice grimoire, like all that stuff. I do have a composition notebook that I write all my spells out in before they go into my Book of Shadows, so that's what I mean by practice grimoire. This one right here is my tarot journal. So I keep all of the tarot spreads that I do in there. And then my Book of Shadows finally actually fits in this cube again. It hasn't been able to go in here for quite some time. Over here I do have some loose paper. This is just some notes and some sigils that I need to put into my book, so I didn't want to throw them away or lose them, so they're just kind of jammed there. And then down here I have some of my like practical stuff, I guess, in storage. So I don't know if you can see right here, I have some corn husks, which are part of corn dolly kits. My partner and I were going to do that for Mabon last year, but we didn't get around to it, so I'm just keeping those until we want to do them. And I have also my Art Witch stuff in here. So in my Book of Shadows, if you guys didn't watch that tour, you wouldn't know that I do watercolor in my Book of Shadow. I'm not very good at drawing or anything, but doing watercolor in there has been really, really fun for me. It just takes up space. So I've got like a ruler I use for marking out straight lines to write on, the little palette, the actual paints, and then I have like my brushes under there as well. So that's kind of what we're looking at. I know that my incense shelf is kind of messy, but I use all of my incenses so often that I don't want to like drop them in a drawer and just have to rifle through them all the time. So I'm just gonna kind of leave that. And then as a final step here, you'll see me actually dusting the rest of my altar. So I very carefully take all of my things off. It's a whole process. And I take some lemon pledge and I just wipe down the surface of my altar. This would be a good opportunity for me to rearrange my altar if I felt like it, but I really like how my altar feels and how it works for me, so I did not choose to do that. But if you're doing something like this, you can definitely change how your things are laid out. I'm only showing you guys me doing the left half of my altar here. I did do the entire thing. The right half is just a bit more cumbersome because I have that prayer shawl on it and I needed to like shake that out and everything. So I didn't film that part, but I promise I did do that and all the shelves. Alright, and that is all I have for you guys today. Again, if you're interested in a full altar tour, I will have that fairly soon. I'm about to film it, so I'm not sure when it will be up, but it will be around. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!